Welcome everyone to another live stream of our operating system building YouTube community. Excuse a little bit YouTube algorithm enticing thumbnail. You got to do what you got to do to get some views, right? And build your growing YouTube community. Of course, that is the 386 that I started to program on and did my first Linux, like you did 25 years ago. We made amazing progress, not only 25 years building this amazing Linux distribution, which due to daily testing and code fixing, regressions, patching works. And quick summary of today's fixes, right? We live streamed on Twitch as usual, longer than we wanted. Fixing PowerPC stuff. So it turns out the PowerPC glibc segmentation faults that you've seen disappear with newer kernels. So far so good, because as well this mystery is not even directly mapping to glibc segmentation fault, was whatever was going on there. The unfortunate thing is, I actually could have opened that. The unfortunate thing is, even then, with a pure 64-bit version 2 ABI, Firefox still segmentation faults differently. So basically, lots of effort spent, although as usual, a lot of win-win in between. So that is the latest, crushing like each architecture, each RISC architecture, if you get it to build as set up and patched in T2, crashes differently. So much to not least common denominator that would help us fix this. However, we fixed 32-bit x86, and I did some more things. So it turns out actually 2 regressions are my own. Also, can't believe we are fixing not only other people's low quality code, even our own. Turns out we caused some regressions, and welcome everyone. Gonna see microkernel, yes, soon, now that our Linux kernel is nearly finished. Famous last words. Yes, the year of the microkernel. Shellac subscribe, the more the merrier, the sooner and faster. So one regression is, turns out, the WinFarm. Yesterday, for those who regularly tune in here, we of course test here a lot. And so one thing on the Xserve, we noticed the WinFarm user, not user space, kernel level, but not system management controller, but operating system kernel controlled WinFarm management for sophisticated, dedicated cooling and stuff, did not work. And turns out on the G5 desktop, it also didn't work, and it turns out that is a regression of mine. However, as usual, it is actually a upstream kernel bug, configuration bug. So it turns out if you configure the modules in a way that Benjamin Herrenschmidt or others, or we have not tested, then they don't work. So let's fix that. Also here somewhere of Linux conf m4. So it turns out we need, so it turns out those WinFarm stuff, also probably we don't need, actually I didn't test that yet. Probably. Okay, let's commit this like this. I'm relatively confident that it will work, because I'm not even sure if, it's always one more thing you think you can finally commit it. So but what basically happened is that the WinFarm stuff didn't have its I2C controller. Somehow it didn't load. So the right thing to do now would be to debug or just add some Linux kernel module attribution for that to load, for the WinFarm stuff to load the I2C modules. But for now it's like YOLO, whatever. Let's link into the build in the I2C Power Mac. Also, this Key West, I believe, is probably the 32-bit. Maybe let's quickly check that. It's most likely, I can't remember each code name of each architecture, but most likely that is Key West. It's probably the 32 I2C, no? Why is there no? Because I didn't see it in the 64-bit config either. But yeah, 2024, change your Linux kernel config slightly and your fan control doesn't work anymore. Yeah, I changed it because for the way it previously worked is they were, I had accidentally 2 built in, like basically one, like the one Power Mac I had, maybe some other random one or whatever. And I made them modular of not having them built in, so like, yeah. So that's why previously that probably forced the I2C Power Mac stuff to build in. Key West, right? Was it deleted or renamed? Where is even Power Mac? Yeah. Not really sure what this Key West thing then. I mean, okay, you know what? Let's better double check that. Not that we missed something else. And then I have another bug fix. And like all of this stuff, of course, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, because you boot, you rinse, repeat. I think there was not even a visible error on dmask. It's this stuff did not just work and probably doesn't even, like, yeah, error handling 2024 Linux kernel module stuff doesn't even print an error when it doesn't find its I2C devices. Yeah, but it's probably fine. Key West. But basically don't change the running system, and there's no Key West anymore. Maybe did they rename that maybe from, maybe they renamed it from Key West to, that is bizarre. Okay, fine, whatever. Okay, let's probably commit it like this, maybe give it one last Google spin. Maybe it finds something, maybe it wasn't Key West Power Mac. Says here some old, don't tell me they, yeah, 2.6, Key West, Power Mac Key West. So they renamed it from Key West to Power Mac apparently. You know what, then I take it back, so maybe then it's even a double upstream regression. So probably I had Key West in there because it was needed, and then they renamed it from Key West to, you can't make this stuff up. Yeah, 2005, I've been there, I've been done that. I mean, we could get history, this stuff, but it's also not that. Alright, this obviously this, yeah, no. Okay, fine, whatever, I guess. It's even nice, crazy poor. My best guess is they renamed it. So yeah, then I'm not even fully guilty. Yeah, could have always tested it more. Anyway, yeah, 2020. I mean, you know what? As I don't know when they renamed it, we could even leave it in there. Because I didn't see it, I assumed it is because I copied that obviously from the 32-bit config. So sometimes they are. I just recently, like here, like I copied that, so desktop makes it. Yeah. So yeah, also tau is. Did I delete this already? I believe that was probably the early 32-bit tau int. Yeah, here. So this PPC 600XX. It's probably some temperature sensor for, where's even the freaking config? Ah, right, the config, okay, the config is it here? Okay, whatever. We could also simply read the freaking file name. It's probably temperature, thermal management, thermal assist units. I'm pretty sure this is a silly, crazy idea. We CPU load from scheduler and ICTC to extend battery life and portables and add performance. Oh, it's probably nice to do in 1999 or so. Okay, fine. I'm pretty sure that is. I mean, we could double check this also. I mean, we could find the config, but if I grab tau, we probably find other stuff. But I think, yeah, it's not in here. It's probably 32-bit only, so it's basically left over from copying that from 32-bit. Yeah, fixed. Power PC 64 Linux conf name Key West to Power. You can't mix this nonsense up. It's probably renamed. So yeah. The more you test, the more you find. Fixed PowerPC Linux conf rename config to Power Mac. So I leave both ins in case I built an older kernel. Maybe they renamed it 10 years ago. I don't know, maybe 5. This is why sometimes, if you're wondering, sometimes intentionally I have this at other places too, right? Because config options, of course, renamed at a weekly basis. Of course, 1 week they rename Itanium and 1 week they rename PowerPC. So. Or AGP or delete and so on. So the other issue also PowerPC related is the frame buffer didn't work. And turns out that is also a regression that occurred. So basically that was working. So basically the only thing that broke is not loading the backup frame buffer. And that only broke because, I broke when I had to change for P3 because the P3 frame buffer somehow didn't come up. And I didn't want to debug that because I have nothing to debug, right? I would need to spend hours of effort to even get any debug output from a no visible, like how to debug if you don't see something, right? Kernel crashed, something. You would need some low level, like maybe Ethernet packet dumping or whatnot, or solder some wires or whatsoever. Case in point, long story short, I changed the config option, and the config option of building the core, like for PowerPC, because usually we prefer all modular to be able to easily reload modules and so on. So due to that, building in the core frame buffer stuff, we always have proc FB, and I use this proc FB in our init ID to check whether there is a frame buffer that auto-probed or somehow otherwise working, or if we need to load some backup thing like open firmware frame buffer. So mk init RD, so the right fix for that is, and you only find this by testing, right? It's not like you remember also that you change some config option and saying, yeah, that changes some proc file to appear or disappear, and that some code paths might check for precisely that. So did I even change? Probably I changed the date already. Probably there's some 2024. So previously I only checked the existence for proc FB, assuming like if something auto-loaded or is built in or whatnot. So that is not enough. So because due to just for the, like you change something for one machine and you break some other, right? So this is the only thing that this fallback doesn't load, right? So there's also there's apparently no auto magic matching. Theoretically, probably one could add some module annotation to match that on open firmware device tree compatibility things, but maybe not. Maybe they all are different. I mean, maybe you find something to. But basically, it is pointless to spend hours fiddling around with auto probing stuff when all we need is like, yeah, try to load that for any platform. Theoretically, it could work for Spark, but doesn't. I looked into that, so that's PowerPC only. But like for the future, there could be more if we need some more. But so basically, the check is here to check for if the size actually has 0. So you can't check for a 0 size because in Linux, for most kernels probably ever, proc file sizes always have a size 0, which I find a little bit misleading. But basically, all proc files have size 0, which actually I probably should check. Not that I mean, I checked it earlier, but not that I talk is it's like here, because otherwise it would be, of course, way too much performance overhead to generate the output for nothing, to throw it away to the data nirvana, to dev null, and just to count it, right? So that is why, if you want to, the super suck though, I would say the size should maybe 1 or a page size or whatnot. Like, unless it is 0, maybe those files should have there is some content in or not, although probably 99.99%. So basically it's probably not worth it, but I would say maybe the size would be more than 0, unless there is some POSIX special meaning for either the file size is correct or it's 0. But 0 is, of course, if some tool stats it and then does something based on the size, it will be surprised. But anyway, so that is why we now need to read that here. So we need to read this, and I can't, normally you would check, like, if this file exists and size is greater than 0, but can't do that for proc. So why we read this, right? A little bit shortcut. And then even there, I wasted one extra reboot because I outsmarted myself. Or actually, wasted a couple of extra reboots, which wasn't until when I realized, hey, it's only the frame buffer. I could, of course, type blindly my full disk encryption password and could continue to boot, and it wasn't the end of the world. But probably it took like 2 or 3 reboots. I was wondering, like, why does this stuff still not work? Until I then, at the last try, I booted with no root, so that I got a debug prompt with our amazing T2 init ID. And then I manually modprobe OFB. And only then I saw syntax error, right? So even I make stupid beginner mistakes 20 years later. So initially I didn't get that quoted, right? And that, of course, doesn't work then. So that is then, because then it was, you add there if 0 that, and I thought, I mean, in decades ago, I always overquoted everything. Recently, I put the quotes like in our T2 scripting style, more like when it's really necessary. So yeah, and immediately karma quotes bite back. Like even that, I had to reboot this 3 times, like due syntax errors. Like, yeah. But this is now tested, that works. So super small thing, just. But yeah, that is why on a daily basis you have this everywhere, right? One change here, one change there. P3 breaks the rest, and upstream regressions, and so on and so forth. Right? There's even on Twitch today new Rust release, of course, already in T2, right? T2 Linux latest Rust release already there, and even there they removed. I submitted upstream 386, 486 because it wasn't fully used. They removed it, so like you update Rust, and usually there's at least some patch failing, and then yeah, you send something upstream and they delete it a year or 2 later. So yeah, thank you very much. So fixed init rd OFFB what probe OFFB fallback if frame buffer core is built in. It's like, yeah. There's always one more thing. This probably, yeah. So this was it. And this is how step by step we create a bug-free and amazingly to use Linux distribution. One thing I wanted to test is, where did I build that? Did I build that? Let's rebuild that just in case I probably rebuilt it here. I added one thing for full disk encryption earlier live on Twitch. Let's also test this, because what's not tested is broken and I want to commit it. So usually as you see, we try already to test everything, and then if we test already everything, then we still have regressions. Also, we have a new kernel there. I have multiple kernels there. That's not super ideal, but it's okay for testing. So quickly want to test that. Create ISO x86-64. Let's test our Luke's change, because for medium security, the latest Luke stuff is a little bit too slow for me. But by the way, maybe we should also change, maybe we do one more bonus thing here, which is changing the passphrase. I've never tried this, and also we should document this. So that would be run q.io is our x86-64 ISO. And so 7 console TTYs. So I need, if you can detect this in Grub automatically, I would love to auto-detect serial console. Maybe we could detect this, whether at least on EFI, whether we can mod probe a EFI graphic module. I mean, there must be something in EFI to detect what type the console is, but leave in the comments below. So what is new since today on Twitch is, okay, let's just use one. Okay, this is also good that we tested this, because it doesn't work. Right, because That is why we test things. Because even if we quickly do something, I think it's probably fine. Is it setup, right? Type, what was it? Luke's 1. Is it install? Ah, it's not it's actually install. Then we need to, so that is probably why this, I used here those, but then actually, oh wait, this is anyway more wrong. I think more like that. Yeah, this is a little bit nah, because this needs to be one string, so that needs to be for this dialog thing, it needs to be precisely one string, so that is why we need to quote it like that. That if we eval that or whatever, so that should be so yeah, this need, so, and we need this quote. The only question is, do we need? It's a little bit fragile, to be honest, but it is what it is now. Actually, if we, you know what, if we actually, you know what, if we change this slightly, okay, earlier I changed that to part, I changed the command line argument order. Okay, if we, okay, does it actually help something? Okay, it helps something because, okay, it would still help, so only, yeah. So let's make, because previously, then it's one less change actually. Yeah, I changed the API here. Okay, let's change it so, and then we can make it all residual arguments. That is probably, so def shift T 2, if there's something or not, doesn't matter, and then we have here T, and then we can use as opts we can use all residual ops. That is probably way smarter and less escaping. Also, here's a typo. Okay, let's try that again. And so the point of this is to offer not only the greatest, but the previous version 1 crypto that has the benefit of having higher performance. And I actually needed that the other day for using an older kernel, right? Like if you, for some reason, you have your Snowflake kernel because upstream broke it or removed Itanium or whatnot, that doesn't have support for that. Like you have an old 5-year-old installation on your G4 cube or whatnot, or SGO2 Octane. All right, older, actually, yeah, older Octane kernel. Actually, we probably should actually check if the kernel supports it and not offer that, because on the Octane we currently have an older kernel that doesn't support Lux2 actually. Okay, details. Let's see, that has still the chance to potentially fail if this, I don't know how we eval that. If we eval that, then we need quotes for the ticks there. So there are only so many kernels because we built all of them. Oh no, release ISO, we will not have that, of course. We will not have that. So then last but not least, we of course need to work on our browser situation. Maybe we do this then for another test hour of Twitch session if you want to join that. Because basically I built now so many Firefox variants, we need a rustless, unoxidated Firefox for IA Itanium anyway. Okay, now it probably worked, so let's see if that, do we, no, we have only one. So yeah, basically, to make some quick progress, I want to write a microkernel, right, and not debug Firefox failing catastrophe of a browser dumpster fire. probably a 6-year-old last Rust driver for vintage and retro overlay needs. But the last time we tried this totally didn't work due to old Python version. What did I use? Test probably, right? Crypt setup. Was it Luke's dump? What was the... dump? Luke's dump. Why did it... I hate when stuff is not more clear. Def, this was, which partition was it even? VDA3. So this is double checking that this is using Luke's one. So XTS plain cipher AS. Why does this not? Here version 1. It's the first line. Okay, so that worked. Amazing. So did we not activate that? Activate. It is. Did it not hit? A little bit. Oh no, it was actually. Oh, maybe our menu is not smarter. Because it is. Okay, somehow this does not have deactivation. Okay, to do. Stone. Luke's crypto deactivate. We have open somewhere. Okay, whatever. Not, root. It probably was root. So let's test the other case. That is. Did I not hit create here? Why? I have the feeling. No, there's encrypt. There's encrypt. Activate. Yeah. Reading my own menu. So, yes. Test. So again, the point is backward compatibility, right? Why do we offer this backward compatibility choice and performance, right? Even for me, it's getting a little bit long. The 1000 hashes and 1 gig of memory. So also for vintage and retro systems, you cannot use Luke's 2, at least with this cipher and stuff, because you don't have 1 gig of memory, right? So. Then do we have here? Okay, no. So this activate, we really have no deactivates here. So yeah, now it looks too amazing. And last but not least, we have one more code pass to test, which is auto partition, like basically encrypted logical volumes. Do all of this manually, replace everything. So that is testing that. Or does it even? I hope it does. Or did we test the other thing? Not that we broke some code pass with some better FS. Oops. Okay, that is all mounted. Mounted swap. Or is it? Yeah, radical. So I have created that. That is encrypted. Okay, that works. Did this not? Maybe we need to somehow. Oops. Because this was demounted. Yeah, probably we could, of course, there's always the amount. Why is this not still? Because, yes, theoretically we need a little bit more error handling here, I admit. I always usually just create. Could still be even more invalid input. Why? So finally, let's try encrypted partitions, because I'm not sure if the other even utilize the test. I mean, maybe the other worked because it created LVM. So I suggest full disk encryptor LVM on looks, because then you only have one passphrase. This is more like test stuff, or if you wanted some word simpler or whatnot. Okay, that appeared to also work. Good. So then we have no other regression. What other thing was it we wanted to? All right, theoretically we could add to the two. I slightly wonder where. Okay, whatever. Where do I have stone? Do I have here? Did I not just add this somewhere? Or did I not properly write it? Did someone not save it? Somehow. Why is this read only? Because it's the wrong user. That explains this. That explains the thing. So running what was going on there. Those who can read are clearly at an advantage. So improve stone install Luke's deactivate and LVM to remove fill unknown. So was that what I wanted to add there? Probably right. So stone module. So yeah, that probably should. I mean, yeah, this we theoretically could use this quote whatever, but until we need it, it's also fine. Otherwise, I would need to Google the best practice of. Although I probably could. The thing is, I always forget. This, I think the recommended thing was that right. I always grab here our own stuff, so I think it probably is that right. For this is expansion, like if there are multiple, like for, I think for that to work with multiple things that potentially have spaces, I think this was what you need. I mean, if you don't have spaces, then either works, but if you ever wondered what the cryptic stuff is, it is for star and add, and there's a difference, and then with quotes is basically the word expansion there of space handling. I mean, famous last things, you test this and then you change it. I should have done it first, but it's probably fine. If not, I will find out soon. Edit Luke's 1 versus Luke's 2. Encryption to Stone Installer for your vintage performance and other things. All right, so we also have done, maybe we also commit this here. So it's basically tested and works. Which one was this kernel? This also we don't need anymore. This is tested now. even if it's still there. And it doesn't exist. And to that, so what that does is patching. We have done this today on Twitch because we support here Thoughta, the only ones who support here all combinations. Like if you, like for us, I mean, yeah, we even ship this in production, right? So just previously it wasn't as visible because we defaulted on, we have three PowerPC ISO, we have three PowerPC ISOs, 32-bit, 64-bit kernel with 32-bit user space for performance reasons, and 64-bit, totally 64-bit with for Little Indian. There could be more. I test build more, but it is pointless. Don't need to support everything. But building pure 64-bit PowerPC, which I also tested there and segmentation faulted, I had to patch Rust and LVM and Clang. So it's actually fixing and improving stuff for our, mainly for pure 64 big endian, but actually also for our 32-bit user space, 64-bit kernel. Just it wasn't the most visible, but nonetheless would not have worked at its fullest if you built a 64 application, if that makes sense. So yeah, but I mean also for others, because T2 is about possibilities, flexibilities, and choice and user enablement. It is there nonetheless. The code quality, don't get me started on LVM code quality. Somehow everything I look at, just today's Twitch screen horror show. I'm really sorry to say that. It is what it is. Can't sugarcoat it more. But thank you, Chris Lutner, and all the LVM contributors, Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, ARM, and everywhere left and right and in between who worked at this, 10,000 people creating this otherwise amazing low-level virtual machine compiler infrastructure stuff, just as usual. 10,000 cooks, and the meal is still not perfect. But thank you nonetheless, and we can't do it nicer, right? Like if I would do it nicer, you couldn't afford it anymore. So we patched that more conditionally, because doing it nicer would be a multi-hour job of quirking the argument handling around in Rust and LVM. It worked. It's hard-coded. It doesn't just work. It's hard-coded. It even has variations of options that would read in bugs, but yeah, LVM Foundation, Mozilla Linux Foundation, if anyone wants, or your Patreon stuff, be my guest. If we wanted to super nice upstream, it would require more work, but more work I can't afford. So that is what it is. For that, we also need here this here pass config of conditionally adding. So this is basically PowerPC adding. This is a new feature for those patches, right? Because previously we didn't need this, but now we custom patch based on ELF ABI for packages that do quirkery stuff and don't do the right thing, like it is in software, like always. Always not amazing. So then commit that to. So that is here, that is the conditional patches, that is here that patch of enabling LVM ELF version 2 for Big Endian for this configuration, otherwise it doesn't just work, and the same for grub. It's hard-coded there, right? It's not amazing upstream. Hey, I didn't write this code, right? I'm just the messenger. They messed up, they don't support that really. It could work, it would work. It would need proper argument and default handling. It's not there. It works like this 42. Donations welcome. So added support for PowerPC 64 patch ABI version. What was even the name of this stuff? It is ELF. Did I even? I overmatched that. Oops. But basically ELF. Okay. .elf. No, without ABI. ELF version 2. ELF version. You know what? I like it. I think I like it slightly. Is this slightly more readable, huh? So edit support for, or is it? PowerPC support for PC conditional patches. Yeah, the art of writing amazing commit messages. Added support for conditional PowerPC. Fixed LVM and Rust to default to ELF, so they name that here like that. How do they? It's not part of the context here. This is a functor returning ELF API version 102. So data layout. What is MABI? LVM Rust default to ELF version 2 ABI if configured. Fixed default ELF configuration. Fixed LVM and Rust default ELF, also this typo, ELF version 2 ABI default for ELF version 2 ABI configuration. That's probably fine like that, right? Architecture pass config, conditional patches. There we go. I added this conditional patches also. Not only I needed this for that, in the future it's possible we might need to patch Firefox or other like FFmpeg or other assembler code stuff. So for that cases, because yeah, those other cases might need that. Maybe Node.js or Chromium. So keeping a Linux distribution in amazing shape. So that means recurrently, the more you test, the more you find, right? And what's not tested is broken. And even if you test it on a P3, it's still broken. I mean, there were 2 bugs. I test. People already think I live stream it too much. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, I didn't expect, but that's the thing, right? If you're not tested, it's broken. And if you don't expect bugs, there will be bugs. I didn't really expect there bugs. But yeah, I also didn't really use my Power Macs often. I mean, often. Although to be fair, I also even made this live stream just some months ago with my brand new €6.90 purchased, auctioned as dead, and Power PSU recap restored for €6.90 cheapest. Probably one of the cheapest full-fledged computers I ever purchased. So we did Xserve, so we actually used it. It's just crazy, but yeah, I mean, first I did Xserve some months ago, and then I improved PS3 and broke it. So, but yeah, even if you think you have very high levels of craftsmanship, even then, that's also why I test. I even test my own changes. Like even I knew the spacing there, install, there will something glitch, right? And something glitched, right? That's why you test everything. And what's not tested is broken, and the only constant for change. The only constant is change and regressions, and not only the Linux kernel, even others, right? We change stuff, PS3, it's broken. Although, to be fair, I try to change as little as possible. That's also why some stuff is a little bit old-fashioned or for 10 or 15 years not touched. Because recurrently, if we change something, something else breaks, right? It shouldn't be like this, but it is like this. And that's why we test. So that's it for this video. I keep this short, helping the YouTube algorithm and you focus on the topics. So the reason, so we had downloads, right, for our Linux distribution, and we didn't announce it yet because we were still testing, and in early testing I found some issues, right, and this is why we have the ISOs that are pretty amazing for PS3, so we have people, of course, installed it on PS3, we have people who download it for their even Windows subsystem for Linux or other virtualization needs. We have even people who run it in parallels, new users here in this community who report success in what I don't even test, right? Other users in Discord, hey, it works amazing in parallels on Apple Silicon, on ARM Windows subsystem for Linux, or parallels in directly in parallels. Amazing stuff. I of course run it in QEMU, T2 Homebrew, QEMU, Apple Silicon as seen here previously. So we soon will do complete rebuilds. Probably we now, it is pointless. We just have .2 ISOs, a complete set. It's also the crazy stuff, right? That's software engineering and software and testing, right? As Firefox and other companies, they have release candidates. And I leave these ISOs also there. Of course, most of them are amazing. But for example, x86 32-bit didn't have a working Firefox, right? And Power Macintosh was booting without frame buffer. So basically not usable for most people. Now that you know, I could make a knowledge base article, you boot the installer, then you blindly, or like you boot into the installer. I could test if it works, that you blindly type in modprobe OFFB, but it's also pointless. Instead of documenting that, better to fix the ISOs and make a big announcement next month, right? Because first impression counts, and when new people, we do here 4 years live on YouTube and attract plenty of new people, and then they download their first ISO for their vintage, for their necessities for gracious and successful vintage and retro living, and then their precious G4 Cube or G5 doesn't have video output. That of course sucks. So yeah, slightly delayed, but that is, the people close to the community can still use it, can still test it, and the more polished, like basically after 25 years and 4 years live on YouTube, which of course we had releases with, right? But basically this release is also overdue since basically October. So it's basically the October release with October, November, December. It's like 4 months. Basically target, and that's also why I don't like time-based releases, right? Then other glibc, like if something important, previous videos, unprofessional glibc, GNU Free Software Foundation, quality management, they have bugs in grub and glibc, and they don't release something, and then they release something just on the state with some random state of like, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Grub 2 release doesn't even build. Probably they still don't have a release, right? That is, they don't release something for years, and then they release something timely, and that's broken. So also glibc, previous video security vulnerabilities, and they don't put out a release, right? They don't even put an announcement or a patch, which is all of, in my opinion, unprofessional. I checked the other week, and they didn't have a new release. I wonder now if it really should be so that they are too swift. So this release is broken. Like here, years in development and last minute a file is missing. It trivial, unused dependency file breaking the build. Anyway, I would have put out a new release, but I'm not the free software GNU release management things, people, whatnot stuff. So better release early, it is there. Big announcement next month. I hope the next big rebuild doesn't break too much. Maybe some more weeks we will probably do some small little things, improvements. As always, leave me in the comments below if you tested something, what worked, what doesn't, what is missing, what you would like to see better, or patches welcome. We could move over to Twitch, building our Twitch community. We could try building slightly older Firefox, because the plan is now, of course, I would really like browsers for my slightly older machines, even the slightly older machines, like just a couple of years old. Okay, Power, actually to be fair, on Power PC64 Little Indian, it works, but otherwise, dual core G5. Itanium, until 40 years ago, still sold high-end Itanium, no browser, and all of which, of course, in the future we will debug the latest Firefox version, but as long as it breaks, it's also crazy, right? Source code so large, every architecture breaks differently, because so much needs to come together, like everything needs to work perfectly, obviously, and that is so many compilers, C, C++, Rust, cbindgen, LVM, Clang, everything needs to work perfectly, and if it doesn't, it breaks, right? And the result is obscure bugs, implementation marginalities, and every architecture breaks it differently randomly in an undebuggable state where you can barely see what's going on. At least, I mean, here is Rust now. That's a Rust runtime check in the debug build of attempting to add this overflow. Thank you very much. And Spark even builds differently so much. You spend so many days and get everything to work. And then for Spark, it assertion failures here with invalid use of user mode pointer. Of course, everything is debuggable, and that are the more readable backtraces, right? There are other instances where I have no idea what's going on. At least here, I have some idea what's going on. It still needs more guru meditation debugging. So don't forget to subscribe. Progress is made. Let's move over to Twitch. Let's try some older Firefox and provide some browser solution for older systems. Hope you enjoyed to learn something. And I see you soon for patches, comments, and next YouTube live streams of the next amazing things with Linux and microkernels to come. So, one more quick note, Caesar comments. So that is T2. So I also do kernel. We do everything right. I contributed from compiler to glibc, basically everywhere, Google V8 and stuff. So don't know much about system dev. Do you work on the Linux kernel? So yes, we work also on the Linux kernel. We do everything, everything. Right. I have my own company, which is how I do that for over 15 years, 25 years in total. Don't delay, try our amazing extra code stuff otherwise for paperless office embedded systems. So if you want embedded systems consulting, security and stuff, we do this professionally, of course, as you see here, daily. So we work on everything, kernel development and our whole Linux distribution, which URL, which do you mean URL? You mean this one here? Then we can also post this, and hope to see you soon and go out and do nice things.